were you thinking when you were going down there to visit your friends, like, I'd like to meet somebody? Was that on your mind?
Immediately after my divorce, thought I needed to date again because I'd been in a relationship for 23 years and it was a disaster. As I was going back and forth, I had decided probably a year or so before I met the person I'm in a relationship now that I was done. I had sworn off relationships and I just decided, I'm not the dating type. I guess it's just not for me. So it was the complete opposite thing on my mind.
Hi, can I ask you a favor? Adventure Freaks is growing, but most of you watching haven't subscribed yet. If you enjoy this content or find it helpful, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it really helps us continue to bring you more tips and ideas for living better abroad. Now, so today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm meeting with my new friend Brad Robinson, and today we're going to talk about finding love overseas. And Brad is thankfully he and I have spoken, and he agreed to share a little bit about his story and how he moved abroad from the US and met a woman overseas. And many people that watch our videos are single. Many retirees are single, and they're wondering if that possibility even exists. So today we're going to explore this. It should be fun and interesting. But Brad, thanks for doing the podcast, man. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Happy to be here. Happy to contribute.
Yeah, man. So let's start off by you sharing a little bit about just who you are and where you're from, and tell us what country you moved to.
Sure. So you probably can tell by my the way I butcher the English language that I'm from the South, the Southern United States. So I was born and raised in the northwest corner of Alabama in a relatively small town. After college, I worked in accounting. I was trained as an accountant. I had an undergraduate degree in accounting. And back then, you could start the profession without having a master's degree. I went to work in a public accounting firm, a big accounting firm. I passed the CPA exam and went on my way. I worked in financial accounting and did audits for a number of years. Married in my mid 20s. We started our family, and after, I don't know, probably let's say my oldest child was about 3, we moved to North Carolina. We moved to Charlotte. That's still in the South. Well, still in the South regionally. It's much more of an international city now than it was back then. And and at the time, I worked for a company that an international company, international property developer based in Australia that had operations around the world. I was promoted into a position. This is after public accounting. I was promoted into a position of treasurer for the Americas region. With an accounting degree, when it could go in a lot of different directions, but this is the way I chose the path that was for me. And it took me to a lot of different places. I saw the world basically, but I spent a good bit of time in Brazil. Back in 2003, I was sent to Sao Paulo to coordinate a project or work out a project. And I was there for about 6 months. And this is the first time I had been to any other country outside the United States other than Canada and Mexico.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I guess how I ended up getting, I guess, a taste of a foreign culture.
Okay. So you landed. So is that where you're living now in Brazil?
I live in Rio de Janeiro now, and that's only because
Now, if you're planning to move abroad or you're already living overseas, you might be thinking something similar when it comes to dating. Maybe you feel too old for dating apps. Maybe you're just over the games, but you'd still be open to meeting the right person. Someone with shared experiences, similar interests, and the same outlook on life. That's usually how meaningful relationships actually start. I recently came across J4L, and what stood out to me, especially for mature men, expats, and retirees, is that it's not built around swiping or surface level connections. Instead, it's designed for people who value clarity and real intentions. All profiles are verified, and the focus is on genuine communication and compatibility, not endless back and forth with no direction. What I also noticed is how straightforward the platform is. Clean layout, simple sign up, and nothing that feels overwhelming, which really matters if you're not interested in modern app culture. And importantly, J4L isn't just about staying online. They also host curated in-person events where people can meet face-to-face, so connections can naturally move from the website to real life. So if you're open to meeting someone for the right reasons, check out j4l.com. The link is in the description below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Now let's get back to the video.
People ask me this all the time, even people here say, well, why do you live here? Because, Brazil's the same size as the United States. It's 310 million people. It's an enormous country. But Rio and Sao Paulo are the most famous of the two places. So most foreigners will visit one of the two, and primarily here in Rio. What I did, how I got connected over here is I was working and spending time on the weekends alone, but I didn't speak Portuguese at the time, which is imperative to live here. And one of my colleagues had a work friend that lived in Rio. And he said, why don't you just go over there and spend the weekend? Well, I went over and spent the weekend with him. And I started doing it on a consistent basis. And people said, well, why did you do that? Well, to me, it was like working in New York City and spending the weekends in Miami Beach, and then going back to New York City, because they're like mirror images of the U.S. cities, other than the cultural differences.
Yeah.
And so I developed friendships here, and that's how I ended up ultimately here, through those connections here in Rio.
Okay, so you're in Brazil. You started off in Sao Paulo, and now you're staying in Rio. You moved to Rio de Janeiro.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So how long ago did you decide to leave the US? So it sounds like with your job, you were going back and forth, I'm guessing. So
Correct. Well, yeah, I was going back and forth for probably the first I don't know, 10 to 15 years. And then my job in the US changed. I was coming here for work requirements, but I developed these personal relationships just simply because as a indirect reason for being here. So circumstances, meeting those people. Then my job changed in the US. I went to work for a family-owned business that took me back to Alabama, my home state. And this was after my divorce. And when I had time, when I had like long vacation time or maybe vacation, I would come back and visit my friends here. So I was going back and forth, but at that time it was really more personal. It was completely personal because there was no business reason with my new company to be here.
Okay.
So it really is just an incremental kind of growth process with my friends here in the country.
Okay. So you developed some really strong relationships. You fell in love with the culture. You continued to go back down when you had some free time. So now lead us to were you thinking when you were going down there to visit your friends, like, I'd like to meet somebody? Was that on your mind?
Absolutely, it was the farthest thing from my mind. I
Oh.
had decided that after my divorce, at that time, I think I had been divorced at that time 7 years, and I had dated. I dated casually for the first. I waited. Well, I started. I guess I make the mistake a lot of divorced people make. Immediately after my divorce, thought I needed to date again because I'd been in a relationship for 23 years, and it was a disaster. The first relationship I had was a disaster. I had the good fortune of having a good friend of mine as a psychologist, and he goes, "You don't need to. You need to spend a year just work on yourself.
Hmm.
Work on yourself, work on your body, work on your mind, and you make yourself happy, and not try to, just don't get involved with anybody."
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't listen to him, so I did some of that, but at some degree, but I had dated again casually, and a couple of serious things. But as I was going back and forth, I had decided probably a year or so before I met the person I'm in a relationship now that I was done. I had sworn off relationships, and I just decided, I'm not the dating type. I guess it's just not for me. So it was the complete opposite thing on my mind.
Okay, so
No, absolutely.
this is great. So I'm going to do the comparison thing, but take us back when you said, you were started the date after, a while after the divorce, and it was a disaster. Describe what that was. How are you meeting people to date, and I'm guessing that you're referring to dating in the U.S.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
because I wasn't here long enough to meet anybody here. I was coming for maybe a week and then going back. So, but yeah, in the US, it was, I tried dating apps, but they didn't really work for me. And now you have to remember, this is, 10 years ago. So,
Okay.
Bumble, a lot of these apps that are out now, they weren't out then. Everything was Tinder as a hookup site. And I never was a hookup guy when I
Yeah.
was younger. And it just, I tried that and it really didn't work. People, the things that people complain about now, you meet somebody, their picture doesn't look like their profile or their background's not the same or, that type of thing. But the people that I actually dated more than once were usually friends, like, people, as we say in the South, fixing me up,
Okay. So you
that
had
type of
friends.
thing.
You had friends that were
In the
fixing you up with
US, yeah,
somebody.
yeah, in the US, they were connecting me to people, or I might meet someone casually. But the two relationships that I had that were semi-serious were both connections that my friends made
Okay. So what
for
was
me.
disastrous about this experience?
Um, well, like one, I can tell you. Well, listen, let me go. I'll go tell you I'm trying to get out of order here. So when I dated a woman for about 6 months and it started out great. We had a lot of compatibility. She was a medical professional, a nursing. She was a nurse, a registered nurse. And so our professions didn't cross, so we wouldn't talk shop, that type of thing. And it turned out that she had an expectation of a lifestyle. Her lifestyle to her was more important than the relationship with me. So it was
Okay.
about where we could go, how much we could. Oh, my car's getting old. Maybe we need to think about getting me a new car, that type of thing. And I
Okay.
started feeling like I was a bank.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then the second, there was a couple more kind of similar to that scenarios, but then the one that really broke my back with dating altogether was a really good friend of mine that I knew in college. Told me his sister was in town, and when I go, and I really just didn't have any interest. I said, I just don't. He goes, come on, do me a favor, help me out. Okay, that's fine. So I met her. She seemed nice, very attractive woman. I picked a kind of middle of the road place. I didn't, shoot for the moon, but it wasn't McDonald's either. And so we ordered. I never will forget this. We ordered, sat down, opened the menu, ordered, and so the first thing she says, so Brad, how much money do you make? And what? And then she said it again, and I said, so I've known you for 15 minutes, and the first question you have about my life, anything about me, is what my salary is. And it really infuriated me. And so I asked her if she knew how to spell Uber, and she said yes. And I said, well, you might want to use your app. And I walked out, and I called my friend on the way home, and I said, I left your sister, and here's why. He was appalled. And so at that point, I just thought, it's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't because I didn't want to connect with someone, but I mean, you want someone to connect with you, not because of what you have, but because of who you are.
Okay.
And I just couldn't find that. So
Yeah.
I'd given up.
All right. So fast forward, you're pretty much done with dating. You're going back to Brazil. You're hanging out with friends, and then you meet somebody. So take us through that experience.
Sure. So I, again, this is 3 years ago, and I'm progressively learning Portuguese at that time, not really because I thought I was going to live here at the time, because I wanted to talk to my friends over the phone and through video chat, and they didn't speak English. So
Hmm.
I had started taking classes, but at that point, I was very much a beginner. And so I really couldn't communicate with people without a couple of my bilingual friends.
Hmm.
And here, if you've never been to Rio de Janeiro or to Brazil, and it's at your perceptions probably is that everyone's dancing in the street, it's samba, people are drinking, smoking, having a great time, and there's a lot of that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that, but at the same time, I never have been really a party guy. I mean, I'm an accountant. I mean, well, I mean, some of us are crazy, but I would. And I met, I was out at a bar with a couple of my friends one night, and we were uh, just talking. And one of my friends said, hey, here's one of my friends that would like for you to meet. It's very common here when people meet each other for the first time. Uh, the way people meet is completely different in the US. Like generally, for example, if I would meet a woman in the US, Well, here's my friend Katie. Oh, hi, Katie. Nice to meet you. And I would shake hands. You don't do that here. When you meet someone here, even if you don't know them, big, strong embrace, a kiss on each
Yeah.
cheek.
Yeah.
And that's different. And it's some, it's very, so to me, that was a little bit, I'm still unused to that. So
Yeah.
it's an attractive young woman. And so, but the thing that struck me though was she said, um, I was trying to speak to her in Portuguese, like my name is Brad. Boa noite, meu nome é Brad. I could. She goes, I'm Bianca. I speak English. How are you? And it just really blew me away immediately because
Uh-oh.
less than 1% of the people here speak English. So
Yeah.
it was very. So that's how I met her initially. And it was very, there wasn't any necessarily a spark or a connection or anything like that, other than just, hi, nice to meet you initially. And then over time, we continued to connect with each other.
Okay. So how did you, after that night, how did you continue to stay connected with her? I mean, did you exchange phone numbers? Were you texting, or were you guys going out and you'd see her and your friend would be there and you'd just kind of get together as a group or
Yeah, that's a great question. Group activities here, again, culturally are very common. So a group of friends, mixed couples, sometimes together, sometimes not, meet to meet at people's houses, drink beer, watch soccer or football, as it's called here. Um, it's very common. So since we had mutual friends, we would run into each other, not planning to run into each other, but just because of the group setting and where we would meet, different bars or different venues, et cetera.
okay.
And initially, I it never occurred to, again, I'm totally sworn off of dating. So it never occurred to me to ask for a phone number or or anything of that nature to text her. She actually asked me, and it was very casual. It was like, you know, she said, "You have challenge with Portuguese. If you ever need someone that can help you with things, let me know. I'd love to help you if I can," which is
Yeah.
very nice. We started out as friends, which I think was really important. Um, and of course, through that, we started to text. But it was when we would do things together. Again, I didn't have in my mind that it was developing into anything because I had completely shut the door. I had closed my heart off completely. I guess is the
Yeah.
way people think about it. Now, my friends were encouraging me here. She really likes you. And I was like, no, and because in my mind, um, she's very attractive. And one thing I haven't mentioned, she's a great deal younger than me.
Okay.
So, and I probably should give a little bit of background about that too. In the US, um, we say age is just a number, but we really don't mean it. I
Yeah.
mean, we say that, but then if you see an older man with a younger woman, then people automatically think, oh, well, they just think what they think.
Yeah.
I don't want to be unprofessional, but people know what they think, right? So here it's very common. But again, not having been exposed to the culture like that, it never occurred to me that she would have an interest in me as a partner. I just assumed I had a friend.
Yeah.
And over time, it just continued to develop.
Okay. How old is she?
She's 26, so she's
26.
she's less than half my age. Yeah. So, which interestingly enough, um, I didn't even realize that until um, I had this. We had gone. I don't know. We had probably been seeing each other. Now remember, I'm going back and forth at the time, so I'm coming here maybe and staying for a week or two, and I'm back in the U.S. So when I was here, we would see each other, but it was very casual. I was still doing having my life in the U.S., and I'm sure she was seeing other guys. Um, and we had started dating about 3 years ago, saying, we decided to kind of see how this would go. Because in my mind, I still couldn't wrap my head around the fact I knew that she was so much younger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. We decided to go on a trip together for her birthday, and I knew what her birthday was, but I didn't know her year. knowing she was much younger than me, I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm working in my office and I'm booking the ticket and I'm on a video call just like we are now, looking at my computer, looking at her on my phone. And I said, okay, I got your, tell me your year. So she says, 1999. And I go, what? She said it again. And I just, she goes, what's wrong with you? I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't, I was just stunned. She goes, I said, well, it's that moment of clarity that you get when you realize that your girlfriend is exactly 6 days younger than your daughter.
Yeah.
So, so that to me, which well, I'm sure you're going to ask this question, but I'll try to preempt it a little bit, is the cultural difference is enormous between our two countries relative to how people interact with each other. And not only am I dating a woman from another, dating a woman that I know for the first time, or getting to know, I'm also getting to know the culture here. And those a lot of times created issues for me that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Uh,
um,
well, let's so what is her name?
her name is Bianca.
Okay, so you met Bianca. She's quite a bit younger, but you had absolutely. So it sounds to me like how all of this kind of evolved is you had a group of friends in Brazil, and those connections in itself led you down this path of meeting somebody to date. So
Correct.
for the viewers watching, I mean, that are considering moving abroad, maybe considering moving to places like Thailand or, somewhere in Europe, Portugal or Brazil, Colombia. You got a lot of amazing places out there. What kind of advice can you give them of how to connect with people locally to create those types of relationships that could lead you to meeting
Sure.
someone?
That's a great question. Um, I think it's important for individuals to seek out and do the things that bring value to their life and bring joy to their life, not thinking about the connection necessarily. So I don't know if you're a hiker, find people that like to hike.
Yeah.
If you're, if you like to, bar hop, find some bar hop friends. Now, obviously, if you're going to, if you're going to Thailand or maybe most of Europe, language is not going to be an issue. But if you're, and even in Thailand, most of the people speak English. But if, most of the countries in Latin America, including Brazil, if you don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, you're going to be limited because you might, it's very rare to find people that will speak English, or you have to use your translator app on your phone, which,
Hmm.
can be awkward. But I would encourage people just to do what you like to do and seek out people that do the same things you like to do that have like interests.
Yeah.
And they naturally, at least for me, have developed relationships and friendships.
I completely agree. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. You can find Facebook groups that offer all kinds of different activities and countries and
Meetups, a
meetups.
great app.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, in the age gap, relationships are very different in South America and places in South America than they are in the US. For sure. Okay. So, what is your perception now, Brad, of dating in Brazil and dating in the US? What's the difference?
Okay, so for ladies listening to this, please understand not what I'm about to say is not to mean to be an insulting at all. Okay, so, but I want to be completely candid. Um, a lot of people have the perception, or many people have the perception, and particularly women, my wives of my friends back home and my female friends back home, have a perception that men come to foreign countries simply to find a mail order bride or for a transactional relationship. And I'm not going to deny that that does not happen. Of course it does. But in my situation, that neither was my style, nor was I, like I said before, was I looking to speak this to meet someone. Um, to me, I can only can speak primarily for women in Brazil, are very feminine and very they remind me a lot of what women were like when I was young.
Okay.
And not notwithstanding independence and feminism and Me Too, all those things, I am not then I don't want to take away from the cultural advances in the US that women have made. But for me, I didn't like the idea of competing with a partner for basically having the same role in the relationship. And
Yeah.
here, what happens is women are very proud to be a supporter and not so much. Um, it's not that we're not equal; it's just that we're equal differently. And
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
maybe if I give an example, it'll make more sense. So, like, I remember it would take forever for my ex-wife and I, or for even people I was dating, to decide where we were going to eat. Where do you want to go? I don't know where. Well, how about pizza? And I had pizza for lunch. And this could go on for half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. With Bianca, if I said, let's go to dinner, if she and I, or she alone, had eaten Italian every single day for every single meal, and I said, hey, there's this new pasta, there's a place around the corner that's got great pasta. She says, fantastic. They they want you here. Not only do they not want to be involved in the decision, they want you to plan everything. They want you to take care of everything, and they don't want to be surprised about what you do. They don't want to have any input.
Yeah.
They just want to be there.
Yeah.
And to me, I found that so refreshing. That was the difference for me. And again, it's not that one's right or wrong or one's better than the other. It's
Sure.
just
Yeah.
it was better for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's a very I think you really articulated that well, Brad, because it's touchy. That can be a touchy subject, and you and I are basically, we're the same age, and there's a lot of my friends that are married that do share at times where they feel that their dynamic and their relationship is competitive with their partner. There's a
Exactly.
competitive experience there, and you're right, that has changed. Excuse me, that has changed a bit since we've been younger, um, and uh, and so there are people. I didn't even know what this term was, and I've heard people say it on comments on my YouTube channel, thing like that. But there are guys called passport bros
Passport Bros. Yeah, very
that now
familiar with the
that's I
term.
guess they only date women over abroad, overseas, and they don't date anybody from their country of origin or the United States for some of the reasons you mentioned. Okay, so that's one
Sorry,
big.
I want to, if I don't, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to just say one thing on that very quickly.
Yeah,
Is I also think that there's a perception in the US that passport bros are only looking for transactional sex only. That's it. They don't care
yeah,
about the relationship because it's easy. And so the feedback is we're exploiting women and they need the money and that type of thing. And again, I know that happens. I'm not denying that happens at all. But there's also a group of people that technically fall into this group like me. I guess technically I'm a passport bro, although I think about myself that way, that really met somebody that fit me perfectly.
yeah.
But it wasn't because I was looking for anything. It's just I met my soulmate in a different way than people meet their soulmates in the United States. That's all.
Well,
She just
yeah, and
happens to be Brazilian.
I think the passport bro concept is a lot of these guys, they just go overseas to meet women and maybe find a relationship. I mean, you didn't even move from that place. You had friends established. You were just going down to a country that you kind of fell in love with. You hung out with your friends. It was an escape.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you met this woman through your group of
A
friends.
network.
And yeah, and it kind of evolves. So it's a very different experience for you. Is there anything else you can think of that you notice that's different from dating in the US, or is that primarily it, where they're just
I
um,
mean, there are a lot of little things. I'll give you another. I mean, I could probably spend another hour talking about things that are different. I'll just give you another example. Um, so Bianca lives we don't live together. She lives in a different part of the city, And she has a little boy. She's a single mom, but she lives with her brother. And they basically, she and her brother co-parent. The father's out of the picture. So she and her brother co-parent the 5-year-old son or nephew, depending on who it is. Um, so this happened recently, and I realized it was a cultural thing, but it really threw me off, and she didn't think anything about it. So she was in communication with me about something I can't remember, but she was away from her phone. And I got a message that said, I'll be over at 8 tonight, or whatever. And I didn't think anything about it. Well, then later I was talking to her about it. She said, did Victor, that's her brother, did Victor text you? I said, "No, I didn't get anything from Victor." He said, "Well, did he not tell you that I was going to be there at 8? I thought that was you." She says, "Yeah, I told him just to take my phone and go into the contact and send you the message." Now I'm sitting there thinking, you let your brother read our texts? I mean, not that I really care. I mean, I'm not saying anything that, I wouldn't necessarily want the world to read, but between people you're dating or in an intimate relationship with, you don't necessarily want the world to see what you're saying to each other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
She never thought about it. It was just like, hey, I'm not going to be there as a practical thing. And that, look, he knows we're together. It's not a big deal. But to
yeah.
me, from the US, I felt like I'd been violated.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
She thought, what's the big deal? Little things like that happen all the time.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
it's usually on me, because what I tell myself is I'm a guest in her country. So
yeah.
it's up for me to adapt to her, not for her to
Oh
adapt to
yeah.
me.
You're learning the cultural norms there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's a whole different experience. Okay. So how did you know as you guys started moving down this path of dating, how did you know that this was turning into something real? Was there a moment where you're like, something happened where you're like
Um,
going, wow, she's actually attracted to me? Because I don't get the impression that you're like a player or a guy that goes out
I'm
and
not
kind of hits on
far
women.
from it. I wasn't a player when I was 100 pounds lighter and had a head full of hair. I mean, I never was a player, far from it. I was a younger, painfully shy of women. No, there wasn't a single event that happened. I think it was just a gradual progression over time, and we realized as we spent more time together and started kind of talking about where we were in life and what we wanted to be, obviously in two completely different places. I mean, my life is 75% over. She's got 75% more of her life to live. So there's obviously some differences there. But probably the biggest thing for me that probably connected me to her was I was really amazed at the level of intellectual depth that she had as a young woman. And I had a perfect person to describe this to, because as I mentioned earlier, she's about the same age as my daughter. And so, and even though they're literally the same age, they've had completely different life experiences and completely different circumstances in their life. And they're just not the same. I mean, she seems much older to me than her actual birth year.
Yeah.
And it's due to her life experiences and her culture.
Yeah. 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 That's
So,
interesting.
but no, there wasn't a specific like aha, like one dinner I think I'm gonna pop the I love you. I mean, it was just a organic experience.
And do you think that this relationship is potentially leading to maybe marriage or
Well,
you probably
so
I don't even know if I should put
no,
you on the
no,
spot because if she
no, no, no,
watches
no.
this.
No, that's okay. No, I don't care. That's fine. I mean, I haven't said anything. If she did watch it, she'd probably giggle when I'm about to say this, is that interestingly enough, technically, legally, we are married, which is kind of a bomb, but not really. Okay.
Okay.
So in order for me to get my visa, my resident visa here, I had to show connection to the country. And so when getting most visas here are issued on 2-year increments, but my friend, the attorney, said, well, since you're in a stable union, a stable relationship, you're dating someone, you can have a contractual relationship with her in a stable union. And of course, I'm thinking, I don't want to get married. He
Yeah.
goes, no, no, no. This is he. So that there's no equal in the U.S. The best I can say is like we're domestic partners or common law. Maybe be a better way to say a common law marriage. So technically, we have a contract with her and I. no division of property. We're together. And that was for the sole purpose of getting my visa. And I told her, I said,
Interesting.
listen, I know you don't want to get married and I don't want to be married. So as soon as we do this, I'll go pay and have it, you terminated.
Yeah.
And we never we asked her afterwards, and she said, "Look, if you're not uncomfortable," at that point we were pretty much exclusive anyway. And she said, "I don't see any reason why it's not going to change anything. Why
Yeah.
spend the money?" So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I guess we are. But as far as having the big formal, church wedding, and I'll probably not.
Yeah.
And that's just because neither she or I want that, at least for now. Who knows what the future holds? But I don't
Sure.
think so.
That's interesting that your attorney referenced that style of residency. I mean, you, I think the income requirement to move there as a retiree is like you just have to prove a $2,000 income per month,
That's correct.
you know?
But it's different. But it's different depending on the visa. So if you're doing like a retirement visa or digital nomads, the one that's most common, that's where you have a US based employer, you're working remotely.
Yes.
That's a 2-year visa. You just have to have, it's a very minimal birth certificate, apostillized and translated, proof of income, usually a letter from your employer.
Right.
But in 2 years, the idea is you can either renew it or you have to go back to a tourist visa or leave the country. I wanted permanent residency because I had decided this is where I wanted to live.
Okay.
And in order to do that, the requirements are higher because by providing you a permanent resident visa, I never have to go back to the federal police. Federal police is like immigration here. I
Yeah.
never have to go back to the federal police again for anything immigration related because I can basically do anything here that a Brazilian can do other than vote now. Buy property, buy a car, everything. And
Yeah.
that's really what I wanted. So that's
Okay.
why we did it.
Okay, so for the viewers watching, for even some of the guys that are going, I'm a retiree, I've been single for a long time. It'd be neat to experience what Brad is experiencing and meet somebody. But they may be thinking I'm too old, nobody's going to be interested. What can you share to these guys that are watching to
Um,
help them?
well, I wasn't too old. I mean, I was 56 when I started this 3 years ago. Um, I think, I can only speak for Brazil because this is the only place obviously I've
Sure.
immigrated or come to.
Yeah.
But I would say it's never too old. I have a friend that just moved here recently from California, and he's 71,
Hmm.
and he did it. So I really have a lot of respect for him because you have to be able to speak Portuguese to live here.
Okay.
And he didn't start until he moved here a year ago, and he's not conversational yet, but he can get around.
Now,
And I
when
mean,
you
to be
say he didn't
71 years
st
old.
let's back up a bit. When you say he's 71, just moved there and he did it, do you mean he met
Oh, he
somebody?
learned the language, started learning the language. Like he
Okay.
moved here and started progressing in the language to live here. And
Okay.
he's a single guy. And I know that I don't think he's in a serious relationship, but I know he's been out several times. It's I would say here it's much easier for couples to meet.
Okay.
There the things that are um, that are awkward in the US, like I watch on social media now about, women say, well, the guy came up and asked me for my phone number and I got the ick. Or even my daughter will say to me, I can't believe you just talked to that person. You don't even know who she is. And I go, she's a human being. I'm having a conversation. I mean, I don't mean anything by it. That kind of conflict. And so now I hear a lot of guys just don't approach women anymore. And now women are going, why they don't approach? So there all of that kind of noise in the connection, I guess, realm doesn't exist here. It's
In the U
very natural.
Okay, it's
It's
just
very natural to meet people, very system and people that you would not normally think you would meet. Like it's no secret if you don't even have to watch YouTube or pick up there were people here are very attractive. Then so it's very easy to see that I'm a gringo. I mean, but Brazilians generally, men and women, are very physically fit. They're very because of the way the cultures mix. They're beautiful people. So, not to sound too crass, but I've had people talk to me, women that would speak to me, hello, how are you? Where are you from? That just are just strikingly beautiful. Like you would think she just walked off like the cover of Elle.
Yeah, yeah,
And but they don't think anything about it. In fact, I've even said, I'm sorry, you're talking to me. Yeah, well, I don't know. You're just sitting here. That interaction, I think to myself, that wouldn't happen in the US because just the way our culture is. Again, it's not wrong, it's just different.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's great information. So it's a much more open, socially open culture, and you're saying it's really
Yes,
easy. It's much easier to approach and just start talking naturally to somebody, or them naturally talking to you, and you don't see.
exactly.
And so for the viewers watching, if they are considering moving, for example, to Brazil and wanting to meet somebody, anybody that's willing to engage, would you say?
I would say, absolutely. I can't count the times. That's 3 or 4 times now. But it doesn't have to be men and women either. It doesn't have to be, or if it's men and women in a romantic relationship. Just to be
Yeah.
totally honest, it's it's um it's very common if people will see Brazilians can't stand to see people alone, like living, like eating alone or
Hmm.
being alone. And I'm very comfortable being by myself. So several times I've walked to the beach here, a couple of blocks from my apartment, by myself, get a chair, have a beer, and a group of guys will say, "Hey man, you by yourself? Yeah, you want to join us?" Don't even know the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I've got a few. Then you start talking, and just like you do. And I've met people on the beach, and 4 hours later in their apartment having beer, watching a game. And I just met them, and I
Yeah.
think to myself, this would never happen in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
at least my experience, they're very open, very friendly, very accommodating. They assume the best in people.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful culture overall. I mean, relationships is nice, obviously as well, but just meeting people and interacting with people socially is much easier here than it is back home.
My last question for you, Brad.
Sure.
Looking
Mhm.
back, do you think moving abroad changed you in a way that made love possible? And would life look different if you stayed in the US?
Wow, what a great question. You saved the best for last. I'm going to ask you to say that one more time, just so I
Yeah.
make sure I answer it correctly. Just ask me this one more
Yeah.
time,
So
please.
looking back, do you think moving abroad changed you in a way that made love possible? That may is so
Um,
and would your life look differently if you
but if I
stayed?
still live there,
Yeah.
well, let me answer the second question first. Absolutely, my life would be completely different than it is now. I would, um, had, for example, the company that bought my company not done so, I would still be, I would still have the same job, great job, still live in the same city. And I'll probably still visiting my friends here. I don't know if Bianca and I would be together, certainly not the same capacity we are now, because it'd be a long distance relationship and a very long distance. So absolutely that would have changed me as far as setting me up for putting myself in a position to fall in love with someone. I would say yes, but I'm a little cautious to answer that question just objectively, directly, because it's complicated. I mean, uh, you have to be open and understand that when you go to someone else's country, their rules and the way they do things are completely different.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we as Americans come here and expect service levels to be the same. They're absolutely not.
Right.
Appointments, times, time here is a suggestion. It's not, everybody's 15 to 20 minutes late for
Yeah.
everything. And so it's just something you have to get used to. So yes, it changed me in the sense that I had to be much more flexible with people. I have to plan, like if I'm going to meet Bianca at 8, I just plan to be there at 8:45, and I'm still probably will beat her there. That's just
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, it changed me in a way. I had to be open to the culture. I had to be open to meeting people. At the same time, I also had to be willing to look at myself introspectively and say, hey, if this is an issue, it's probably on me.
Yeah.
So I think about it like I'm a guest in your house. When you're a guest at someone's house, you do whatever you want, have a run of that. We still feel a little weird when you go to their refrigerator and take out a beer. That's kind of
Yeah.
how it feels.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to change because I had to get used to thinking if something's not right, automatically I have to think this is on me and I need to look at myself before I start saying like, I can't believe the guy said he was going to be here an hour ago and he still hasn't showed up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that people here that have that kind of very strong opinion, they're not very happy. And a lot of times they go back. So you
Yeah.
have to be fluid enough to understand and work in the culture. So yeah, it's changed me because I look at myself and my life much differently because I've not only have I had to learn a language, but I've had to learn how to be flexible in environments. In the past, it was just, it was everything was done one way.
Yeah. Do you feel like your stress levels have shifted or changed since moving to Brazil? And do
Yeah, I
you
go ahead.
feel like you're more um, happy, maybe open, and what is the feeling like about being from the
I,
U.S. and then lit and being in Brazil? Do you feel different overall?
I can tell you I have zero stress. There is no stress here. I mean, the
Okay.
biggest stress I have is, if I need to have someone come over and say, fix something in my apartment and they don't show up that day or maybe 2 days before they show up, or they show up when you're not here, that's not stressful. It's just inconvenience. But the things we put value on in the US are more materialistic than we think. And you really don't appreciate that until you're in a place where family is the absolute top priority for people here always. Or you see people here that are dreadfully poor. And I don't mean poor in US standards. I mean no running water, no air conditioning when it's 100 degrees outside. They have nothing.
Yeah.
And these people have to sell, two pairs of sunglasses on the beach to feed their 4-year-old, which would, for me or anyone in the US, would just stress us the hell out.
Yeah.
They're just happy as it's just, thank God I have a job. Thank God I'm alive. Thank God I can take care of my child. Everything is the glass is half full, no matter how bad it is. And so
Yeah.
when you're around people that are happy like that all the time, it's really easy to say, laissez-faire. It's just easy to let life come to you and you don't have to be stressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easily the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. Well said, Brad. Well, Brad Robinson, Finding Love Abroad, man, thanks so much for taking the time to do this and sharing your experience. This has really been more helpful than I didn't know what to expect because it's the first podcast that I've done like this. But it's really been fantastic, and I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're living your best life in Brazil and that you found a partner. That's pretty awesome.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully to the viewers, maybe I've said a few things that might help them along the way too. And I wish everybody the best of luck to find the things in life that make you happy.
Yeah, well said, bud. Well, great meeting you, Brad, and take
Same
care, and
here.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.